Hi, I'm Dr. Christina Bjorndal, author, keynote speaker, co-founder of the Natural Terrain Naturopathic Clinic, and creator of the Moving Beyond course and retreat. My mission and passion in life is to help people regain their mental health, and that is what I want to help you to do. Have you ever been so depressed that you weren't able to get out of bed to face the day? Or maybe you've been paralyzed by anxiety and weren't able to go to the grocery store or to a social event. Or maybe you struggle with your weight and are confused by all the different diets out there and what to eat. Or maybe you've tried many different therapies and been to many different practitioners but haven't achieved the results that you desire. So whether you're depressed, anxious, have disordered eating or an eating disorder, or maybe you've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I want you to know that I am here to help you. You may be comforted to know that you are not alone. In fact, one of the most common questions I get is, can you even treat mental health naturally? Is it even possible? Now, I know mental health conditions are a top concern worldwide, and I am here to help clear up some of the misinformation that surrounds your mental health. I want to get you feeling hopeful again about your life and the possibilities that are available to you. And the reason I can be so optimistic about your future is because I have overcome many challenges in the realm of mental health. I have struggled with depression and anxiety, survived several suicide attempts, one of which left me in a coma, on dialysis, waiting for a kidney transplant. Now, I didn't end up needing that kidney transplant after all, and my nephrologist says that I'm a walking miracle. I've also had an eating disorder and an addiction to sugar and exercise. And as if all that wasn't enough, the big slap across the face for me was when I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1. And I have lived in the shame and stigma of that diagnosis for the past 30 years. And part of the reason I didn't want anyone to know about any of the mental health labels that I've been given was because I wanted to be accepted as me, as someone who belongs, as someone that's not flawed, as someone that is normal. And I've come to accept, believe, and understand that everything that happens is normal. It's just that society isn't comfortable with the extreme states, with people in a suicidal state on the one end, or mania and psychosis at the other end of the scale. And I don't believe that these conditions need to be institutionalized or tranquilized to death with medication. And I agree that it isn't always comfortable to be in these extreme states, but I don't think you need to be treated differently. I've just finished writing my memoir and natural solution guide to dealing with depression, anxiety, bulimia, and bipolar disorder. And this course is based on the principles outlined in the book. So when I was in my mid-30s, I made a career change from reporting to a high-profile CEO in business to become a naturopathic doctor. Because in the 1990s, when I was searching for solutions for my own mental health, I had a hard time finding somebody who could help me. And the fellow that I did find was a medical doctor in his 80s, a nutritionally oriented psychiatrist named Abraham Hoffer. And I made that career change because I wanted to be a resource, a guide, a solution, if you will, for people who are struggling with their mental health, like I was struggling. So that's why I went back to school at the age of 33. I went back to high school and then university at that time, so that I could get the prerequisites to go on to naturopathic school. and nothing brings me more joy than helping people regain their mental health. So despite all the challenges and self-esteem crippling diagnoses you may have received, I want you to know that you can overcome them and thrive in your life by using a combination of naturopathic and Western medicine if needed. And it's through my own struggles with my mental health that I've created this program for you. So this program is designed to help you get control of your mental health. It's the culmination of all the healers that I have seen in the past 30 years in the realm of naturopathic, alternative, energetic, spiritual, psychological, and Western medicine. And I know this works because I have lived through the dark days and survived through some really difficult times to see the rainbow on the other side. So these 10 areas include diet, sleep, exercise, and managing stress. So that's the foundation of your health house. And then the next levels that need to be addressed are your thoughts, your emotions, how you behave and react in the world, and the environment. Now I mean the environment from two perspectives: the quality of the air, food, and water that we're all consuming, but also the environment that we're raised in. We are all programmed by the people who raise us. And I don't mean that from a position of blame. I just mean it as a starting point to simply understand how you might behave, react, or think. And I am adopted, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about what my life might have been like if I was adopted into this family or that family. And there's two concepts to understand. The first is epigenetics. And an analogy to explain what that means is genes load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So when I was first diagnosed with my mental health conditions, I was told that it was genetic. And I never fully accepted that as an explanation for what I was going through because I didn't have the ability to verify the truth of that statement because I didn't have the medical history of my biological parents. And I found that that statement, it's genetic, made me feel like I was a victim. Like there was nothing that I could do to help myself get better. And I want you to know that you are not at the mercy of your mind or your genes. And you can get better, just like I have. And then the other concept is neuroplasticity, which means that your brain has a bendy or plastic quality to it. So there is nothing fixed about you in any way, shape, or form. So this is important to remember as you regain your mental health, because the last day, week, or month of your life does not have to be a repeat, especially as if you are stuck in depression or anxiety or some other mental health condition is plaguing you right now. And then the last room of your house that is important is spirituality. We are all here for a reason, and your life has a purpose. And I will help clarify and define that for you in the course if you need help with that. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Do you love yourself enough to make the changes that I'm going to ask you to make? To take the steps that I'm going to ask you to take? So let me teach you a little bit more about what you'll learn in the course. So if we go back to that physical level for a moment, you need to know that there are two ways to support your neurotransmitters. You can take pharmaceuticals, or you can take or use nutrition, herbs, homeopathy, and diet to support the formation of your neurotransmitters. And in the course, I will teach you how to eat to support the formation of your neurotransmitters. And the key ones involved in mental health are GABA, dopamine, and serotonin. So to start off, let me explain to you a little bit more about serotonin and how that pathway works in the body, so that you learn something today that could change your life. So most people are taking medications that are called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So these are medications by the name of citalopram, Celexa, Prozac, Zoloft, or Paxil. And these medications are based on the chemical imbalance theory of mental health. Basically, you don't have enough serotonin. And the way it works in our brain is we have a neuron that is connecting to another neuron in the brain. And in this neuron, it contains all the neurotransmitters. So in this example, we're talking about serotonin. And so what happens is the cell opens, or the doors open, and the neurotransmitter floats across the synaptic cleft to bind to the receptor on the other side, causing this cell to fire, and down the line it goes in the brain. But what I want you to understand is how SSRI medications work. So essentially, they keep this door open longer so that it gives serotonin more of a chance to float across to bind to that receptor on the other side. And then when the doors close, our body scoops up the remaining serotonin left in this synaptic cleft because the body wants to be efficient. But what I want you to think about is, what if this is not a deficiency problem at all? What if it's actually a binding problem? So you actually are making enough serotonin, but the serotonin can't get in the door of the cell because something from the environment is blocking it. And there are lots of neurotoxins and heavy metals in today's polluted environment that do such a thing. So this is the exact opposite way to look at your mental health condition, that it's not actually a deficiency problem at all. So that's one thing I want you to keep in mind. And then the other question I want you to think about is, how do you even make serotonin? What is that derived from? So serotonin is derived from tryptophan. And tryptophan is probably something you've heard of because it's talked about a lot at times of holidays like Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So that's right, it's found in turkey. But it's also found in many other foods. And what you have to understand about nutrition is that essentially there are three macromolecules. So we have fat, carbohydrates, and proteins. And each macromolecule is broken down into micronutrients. So for fat, it's saturated fat and polyunsaturated fat. And then for carbohydrates, it's refined carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. And then for protein, it's non-essential amino acids and essential amino acids. So nutrition doesn't have to be complex and difficult. Essentially, it boils down to this chart. Now, when it comes to tryptophan, what I want you to understand is that it is an essential amino acid. So what that means is you cannot make it. You have to get it from your diet. So tryptophan, when it comes in the body, first and foremost, is going to make niacin. Niacin is used in every cell of our body to make ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is used in every cell of our body to produce energy. So essentially, it's the gas that runs the car. Niacin is essential to life, and the life-threatening condition of a niacin deficiency is called pellagra, and it's characterized by the 4 Ds, which are diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and death. So death can be a result of a niacin deficiency, which highlights how important this nutrient is to us. So essentially, it's more important to keep your heart beating and your lungs breathing than it is for you to feel good. Now, if we have enough niacin from our diets or through supplementation, then the tryptophan is available to go in one of two directions. It can go down this pathway to make 5-HTP and then serotonin, and then it goes on to make melatonin. But that is only under two conditions. Firstly, you have to have the nutritional cofactors, which include B6, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin C, to make this pathway work. And if you don't have enough of these nutrients, you won't get to make serotonin. And the other important point is, if you are under a lot of stress, then tryptophan gets shunted to the chymeric pathway in the body to make something called quinolinic acid, which is considered neurotoxic and actually increases depression. So this is why I never prescribe tryptophan to patients, because there's no guarantee that this tryptophan is going to go to make serotonin here. If a patient is under a lot of stress, you're going to end up perpetuating depression by prescribing tryptophan. Now in the course, I will go into much further detail about the different nutrients you need to support your mental health, and the message I want to leave you with right now is, please don't go run out and buy all these different supplements. One of the things you have to understand is that everyone is an individual, and the supplement requirements for each individual is different. And there can be different drug, nutrient, and herbal drug interactions, so we have to be careful when it comes to supplementation. And also, niacin causes a flush reaction. So what that means is it causes a histamine release in the body, it causes your arteries to vasodilate, the blood comes to the surface of the skin, and you feel quite red and itchy. In fact, you can turn as red as the color of my shirt. It's almost like you're having a hot flash on steroids. And for some people that's really uncomfortable, but it's important to note that that is actually a normal reaction of niacin. That's what niacin does to you. So as I said, everyone is an individual, and supplement requirements depend on individual needs. It's also my hope through the tools that I teach you in the course that you won't need to take as many supplements, because we'll be working on the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of your health, as well as the nutritional aspects. And that is how we get to the root cause of your mental health issues. You want to start at the beginning of the pathway to support serotonin. And most SSRI medications, well not most, all SSRI medications work at this point in the pathway. So at the beginning of this video, I talked to you about 3 macro systems that we need to support in order for you to make neurotransmitters. So the neurotransmitters, and then your hormonal system. So remember that when we're stressed, it's our hormonal system that gets activated. So we can't forget about that. So here's what ended up happening to me. For 15 years, so 15 years, and that's a long time, I was on and off anti-anxiolytic medications like Ativan and lorazepam, antidepressants, stimulants, and mood stabilizing medications. And sometimes I was taking all 4 of those medications at one time. So if this is normal mood, whenever I started a medication, I generally was down near the bottom of this chart. And then I would start taking the medication, and eventually I would feel a little better. But the problem was that every time I went off the medication, I would end up right back down here, falling down or sliding down the slippery slope into suicide. And what that told me was that the medication ultimately was not fixing anything, because every time I went off the medication, I ended up right down where I started. So it wasn't until I went to see Dr. Hoffer and he started me on the supplement regime that I actually had my first year where I felt free of depression and anxiety. And that hadn't happened in the 15 years prior. So what this highlights to me is the importance of figuring out what the root cause is. And that's what I want to do for you. So eventually I tapered off the medication and I just continued with the naturopathic approach, which included taking my supplements. And then I ended up making a career change to become a naturopathic doctor after asking myself one question, which was, if money didn't matter, what would I be doing with my life? And the answer that came up for me was, go back to school, become a naturopathic doctor so that you can help people regain their mental health as you have. So the interesting thing is that when I went to medical school, we had to analyze our diets, and the only essential or the only nutrient that I was deficient in was tryptophan. So that was eye-opening for me, because not one doctor, and I had seen several doctors in the 15 years prior, not one asked me what I was eating. So it turns out the main nutrient that I needed to support serotonin and prevent depression, I was deficient in. So talk about an aha moment for me. And the thing is, this could be the case for you too. So because I want to give you something that can help you with your health today, I've created a mental health guide. So this guide includes the tryptophan forming foods, a 2-week eating plan that tells you exactly what to eat to support your mental health. It includes a grocery list and the recipes for you to follow. I mean, the only thing missing in this mental health guide is me coming over to your house and cooking the food for you. It's that comprehensive and that useful to you. But all kidding aside, this guide is amazing, and I want to give it to you for free. It is my gift to you. So please be sure to enter your email address below so that I can send this mental health guide to you. You don't want to miss it. And I know that you're going to love it. So go ahead and enter your email address below, and I will see you in the next video.